This video is to show how to replace the battery in a Panasonic wet-dry electric shaver. This particular model is the ES8249. I've had it for a number of years. It's probably the favorite electric razor I've ever had, and have had some different brands. It's now to the point to where the battery will, after recharging all night, will only last 2 or 3 minutes. And so it's either get rid of the razor or replace the battery. Fortunately, I found batteries for under $20, and I can recover a razor that's worth, to replace it, well over $100. First step is to remove a small Phillips head screw at the bottom. So it's on the very bottom here near the charging port. That allows you to take off the bottom cover. The next step is to remove the area at the top here where your trimmer is, and there's a small Phillips head screw here to do that. And so that comes out. You'll notice that it has 3 tabs on it here. These 3 tabs all slide into these slots here, right here, right here, and right here. So when you go to disassemble it, you'll want to kind of press it in and make sure those 3 tabs are in place, and then push forward just a little bit to lock it in place. As well as it has a recessed area right here on this square piece around the screw hole, and that recessed area has to slide up under and lock here. The next step before removing the actual handle here is to take this plastic piece off, and it just kind of lifts out of place here. And so you have a plastic collar. It just kind of snaps around this area. When the plastic collar is removed, you'll see 2 small Phillips head screws on each side here. Those screws are what helps hold the rubber handle in position. To remove the rubber handle, I slide the lock button up into the lock position, and then I take a little plastic spudger and start lifting the rubber handle. And you'll notice as you go around, it has these little locking tabs. There's about 3 or 4 of them. There's one here, and one right up here. There we go. And that'll lock that side. And once that side's loose and you kind of lift it up, you can almost get it to peel off and press a little bit backwards. Press backwards and it'll unlock the other side. And so you've got 3 locking tabs that kind of hold it in position. One here, one here, and one up here, very near where the locking button is. Okay, now you're looking at the razor, the back of the razor, and we've got 6 Phillips head screws that hold this back piece on. You got one here, 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 and here, and here. Removing those 6 will allow us to just lift the back piece off and have access to the battery. This little metal piece that goes across the middle there removes also. Now with everything removed, you can gently lift up. Just find a grip on it and start to remove it, and it'll come loose. There it goes. It come loose. You'll notice you have a rubber O-ring inside. That rubber O-ring, when we put it back together, you really want to put some silicone lubricant around that O-ring to help it seal going back together, so that it keeps the waterproof portion to the razor. So here's the battery. This is a lithium-ion 14,500 battery. I found them online on eBay. You can search. There's a couple of other websites that you can search. It's essentially the size of a AA size battery, but it's important to note that it's got snap pins on the ends of the battery. I'll show you one here in just a second that shows a clearer view of what the snap pins look like. Okay, so here's the battery. Again, it's got 14500. When you get the battery, you'll notice on the snap pins there's a short side snap pin and then a longer snap pin. This is the positive end on this, and the shorter one is the negative end. To remove the old battery out of the machine, I have this little spoon looking metal device, and so I just took that, and you can reach right under the battery in this area right here, slide it under there. A flathead screwdriver probably would work as well, but if you just wedge that under there and lift up, it'll pry the battery right out. See how that snap pin came up, and you lift, the other snap pin comes out. It's that simple. Again, snap pins. To put it back, you'll see the tabs where the battery goes, and you'll notice that the negative side goes here towards the top of the razor. The positive side goes into this channel here on down near the bottom charging end of the razor. And so to put it back in there, you simply just line up the two ends with their respective areas and carefully press down. You'll feel it kind of snap in place. Both ends have snapped in. Okay, now it's time for reassembly with your battery firmly back in place. Reassembly is just the reverse. So you take your top, ease it back down into position. Here you'll feel it snap. Okay, I've snapped it in place. I went ahead and placed the 6 screws, the metal backing plate, all back in position, and you just need to tighten them down. So with all the 6 screws on the back tight, now you want to put the back cover, rubber cover back on. One thing to do is make sure that your lock, this little white tab here, is the lock mechanism. So that is currently in its unlocked state, and if you take that and move it up, that's in the locked state, and so that keeps the head from moving around. So put that in the locked position. Take your rubber handle, make sure that that switch is also in the locked position, and then you can carefully slide these two together in their locked positions. Everything will snap back into place. While you got it together, before you screw it, you can check so the head moves, lock, head holds firm. So now it's time to put these 2 screws back in position. So again, we're just locking down these final 2 screws here.
In their final position. Plastic, so snug but not too tight. Break the plastic, don't break the plastic.
When I first put this on, you'll see how those tabs sort of snap together. Again, you got tabs along 3 places on each side that you sort of snap back in, and then you're ready to proceed with putting the collar back on to cover up the screws. And so again, you take this collar, it just sort of fits, snaps over in this position right here and covers everything. Okay, with the collar in place, now it's ready to take the trimmer piece, taking the tabs and lining them up and with their slots. I find it easy to look through here, make sure those are in place, press down a little bit, slide forward, and you'll see that it all lined up. You can take the little screw, put it back in its place here, and tighten it down. Finally, the last thing to do is to take your back cover. It's got some tabs here on the end that you'll want to slide in place. Slides up in, you'll feel it sort of click in place. You can take okay, there we go. We've replaced the battery and everything's nice and tight. So after putting the razor on the charger for about 45 minutes, you'll see that the battery's now up to 90% charged. So I'll put it back on the charger and let it finish going to 100%.